Hey, Homeberries. Lately I've been reflecting on the subject of mourning, and I had a sad realization. There are people who judge others for the way they mourn. Like, oh, they mourn differently than I do, um, so that's a bad thing. No, that shouldn't be the case, because people mourn in different ways. I'm not going to say that there's no bad way of mourning, because I think there is. Like an extreme example, if you say, "Oh, I'm mourning, so I'm going to blow up a bridge," yeah, that's not good, to say the least. So if someone's mourning in a way that they're hurting themselves or others, that's not good, and they need to find a healthier way to deal with the grief and maybe anger that they feel. But if it's simply mourning differently, then that's not a bad thing, because people mourn in different ways. For one thing, there's the subject of crying. You see in shows someone gets bad news and they automatically start crying. Some people may think, oh, I didn't do that when I heard bad news, so I must be a bad person. No, that's not the case. Someone may hear about bad news like a death and cry right away. Others may not cry until later. It was a story that was reprinted in the first part of Maus by Art Spiegelman. He talked about learning when his mother died. He said he felt numb. He didn't feel like crying, but he felt he should, because he thought that was what was expected of him. Some people cry when they hear bad news. Other people don't cry until later. There was a Batman comic, I think it was the one with Ra's al Ghul, and I know people are saying, oh sure, because there was only one issue with Ra's al Ghul, huh? But what I mean is the one where he got, either the one where he got introduced or the one where he first teamed up with Batman. Robin and Talia had been kidnapped and they were looking for them. If that's not the issue I'm thinking of, then it's awkward, but there they were looking for their loved ones. Ra's said something about Batman not crying out of worry about Robin, and Batman told him, I'll cry later if I need to. Well, some people cry right away, some cry later, some don't cry at all. I haven't read it, but one of the most popular books this year was the memoir by the young actress called, the book was called, not the actress, the book is called I Didn't Cry When My Mom Died. It's a memoir about parental abuse and abuse by other figures. So the only thing I have to say about not crying, it's okay if you don't cry, only you know how you feel. The thing is, don't brag about it. She wasn't bragging about it, she was just stating a fact, and that took a lot of courage, because she admitted it knowing that people were going to judge her for saying she didn't cry when her mom died. The kind of bragging I mean, there are people, oh, I suffered a tragedy and I didn't cry. It's like, oh, okay. Do you want a medal or something? Anyone who tries to act tough is not really tough. I mentioned anger earlier. There are people who become angry, and that's fine as long as you're not hurting anyone. Again, you're hurting yourself or others, you need to find a healthier way to handle your emotions. Don't pretend they're not there, but find a way to process what you're going through without hurting other people. That can be a hard thing, but moving on, there are some people who and another thing about crying and all that, you can mourn a loss before it actually happens. I know that from experience. So if you see someone at a funeral or whatever and say, oh, they're not crying, don't judge them, because you don't know what they're going through. They may have been crying their eyes out the night before, the week before, or whenever, or they may cry later after they've processed everything. So this whole thing is about not judging people. Another thing, after a loss, some people want to go out and do things. They want to do things with friends and all that. And others want to stay at home. They say, oh, I want to be alone right now. Both of those are okay. Only you know how you feel. Some people, when they have a loss, they want to immerse themselves in things having to do with that person, and others don't want to have anything to do with them for a while. Like, let's say someone has a favorite singer who dies. Maybe they want to play all their albums and watch all their music videos and wear their t-shirts or whatever. And another person may say, oh, I don't feel like listening to any of that or watching any of that. It's too painful right now. That's okay. Only you know how you feel. Don't assume that someone's not mourning just because they mourn differently from you. There was an episode of that, well, actually, I think it was 2 episodes. I think it may have been a 2-parter of that show, Good Times. The father passed away. So there was an episode they had... their friends got together and remembered him, and, things seemed to be going well, and after the party, after everyone left, the mother just broke down in the kitchen. There might have been people who judged her saying, oh, well, why isn't she sad? And then, yeah, she was sad, so they would have been wrong to pass judgment on her. Oh, also, one last thing about mourning. You can mourn something other than a person. Like maybe you had a beloved pet who passed away. There's nothing wrong with mourning your pet. Or maybe some place you used to hang out all the time closed down. Maybe it got demolished. It's okay to mourn for that. One thing I keep thinking about, there was the episode of SpongeBob in which he tried to become normal. Well, Patrick was helping him to become abnormal again. It makes more sense if you've seen the episode, but they thought they had failed and SpongeBob was permanently normal. So there they were crying, And then there was a knock on the door. Patrick called, "Go away, we're mourning." So on one hand it's kind of funny, and on the other hand it's kind of serious, because there hasn't been a death, but they feel they've suffered a loss. So it's one of those things. So I think I've said all I needed to say. Hopefully this is helpful. Have a blessed day, Homeberries.